Frank, 59, had a stroke in July 2022, and a month later he was placed under conservatorship and guardianship. The conservatorship is temporary, according to an exclusive statement made to the US Sun by a source close to Frank. According to the insider, it's merely transitory. It is not a lifelong guarantee. It's only a passing issue, every month. His conservator is Midwestone Bank, and his guardian is Frank's close buddy Chris Davis. Anyone who has a stroke and doesn't have anyone to maintain paying bills, someone's got to do it, the insider stated. The state administers all conservatorships and guardianships. His guardian is responsible for making sure Frank keeps his appointments and is called by the physicians. An earlier update on the private star's status today was provided by a friend of the American Pickers alum. The friend stated to the US Sun, "Frank keeps getting better every day. After a stroke, you can never be fully recovered, but he is fine. He is aware of what is happening. You could sit and speak with him if he were here right now. He is still the same Frank." After his stroke, Frank was confined to a wheelchair and had a ramp put up in front of his Iowa house. He can walk, but because he can't walk far, he will always need a wheelchair, his pal said. Basically, motion is lost. He stopped moving. His right side was impacted by the stroke, which can affect either side. Frank still attends weekly outpatient therapy sessions. The friend claimed that Frank's health is the biggest misperception. He had a stroke, but the source insisted that he was not incapacitated to the extent that he was unable to function or pursue his interests. That poses no challenges for him. It was simply a change in his way of life, and it made him slower. He is still the same Frank. He is cheerful and has a fantastic sense of humor. He has an optimistic outlook. We frequently make jokes. He's come to terms with everything because you have to make the best of the circumstances. His mind is right, he's a happy guy, and his sense of humor is there. In August 2022, news of Frank's conservatorship and guardianship was first reported by the United States Sun. The paper's The US Sun was able to demonstrate how far Frank has come in just 1 year. According to court documents submitted in August 2022, Mr. Fritz's decision-making capacity has been severely compromised as a result of his stroke, making it impossible for him to care for his own safety or to provide for basic needs like food, shelter, clothes, or medical care, without which bodily injury or sickness may ensue. Mr. Fritz's ability to make, explain, or carry out significant decisions involving his own financial affairs is severely compromised. A medical expert reportedly asserted in an exhibit included in the court documents that Frank lacks the mental capacity to make decisions. Decisions must be made for Mr. Fritz's care and placement while he continues to recover and receive treatment for his injuries, the court documents added. To prevent immediate danger to him, a guardian and conservator must be appointed. Frank will receive assistance from the guardian for his ongoing physical therapy and treatment for Crohn's illness. Additionally, he will assist the former American Pickers star with grocery shopping, cooking, and transportation. In an episode from March 2020 of American Pickers, Frank made his final appearance. He had taken time off to recover from back surgery, which had left him with 2 rods in his spine and 185 sutures. Frank shed 65 pounds and spent 77 days in an Iowa alcohol addiction treatment facility while he was off the show. During the 2021 interview with the US Sun, Frank also discussed his conflict with Mike, his co-star. "I haven't spoken to Mike in 2 years," Frank said. "He was aware that my back was hurting, yet he didn't call to see how I was doing. That is the way things are." The entire show is skewed in his favor. To demonstrate how much, I can't even stoop down that low. It's all right. It's similar to having Steven Tyler as the frontman of Aerosmith. I've discovered my place on the program. I'm second and he's first. I have no issue with that, but perhaps he does. Additionally, he acknowledged, "I believe Mike wants to replace me with his brother Robbie. I'm not sure why he's acting that way toward me." A friend, however, claimed to the Quad City Times that Frank and Mike have patched things up after their emotional reunion over Memorial Day weekend. This was not at all a conflict between Mike and Frank, the insider claimed. They weren't at odds. They needed time apart to truly appreciate one another. The companion disclosed that after 11 seasons of putting in 10-hour days, 7 days a week, on the reality TV show, the friendship between the lifelong friends becomes sour. She informed the newspaper that the men were in tears after their long-awaited reunion. Both were sobbing, the buddy reported. One of their first major performances was on David Letterman, and Mike mentioned how anxious they both were about it. "No one can replace you," Mike, 59, informed his longtime co-star. Frank informed the friend, "I need to talk to Mike." The plans were then arranged. Mike really stressed all the fun times they had before the show and during the show, the insider said in closing. Mike did state that he would like Frank to return to the program, but Frank is occupied with his health. In a recent article, the U.S. Sun discussed how their relationship is doing now. The U.S. Sun quoted a source close to Frank as saying, "Everything between them is fine. They have been close friends for 40 years. They attended high school together and have engaged in numerous activities. They are great buddies that get along well." Since Frank's stroke, Mike has reportedly paid him a handful of visits, and the two have also called and texted one other today. Despite replacing the fan favorite on the show, the insider added that Frank and Mike's brother Robbie are even closer. Frank had a stroke, so he now has to do what he has to do, the friend said, and Mike, Robbie, and the cast carry out their duties. Apart from that, they are just friends, and their discussion is the same as it has always been. That is a topic of conversation, since those guys are obsessive about picking and finding things.